Hi, everybody. How you doing? My name is Kate Titus. I am the owner and founder of A Loyal Companion Canine Mobility and Swim Center. And welcome to Recognizing Mobility Changes, Creating Value Through Observation. We're so happy to have you here. Thanks for joining me. Yeah, let's pop right into it. Want to make sure we're all on the same page about what our goal is for today. So my goal for you today is to help you learn how to create more value in your business and value for your clients by recognizing and reporting mobility changes in the dogs that you see. Now I know it feels like, oh God, it's one more thing for me to do, but you know what? You're already doing it. You just maybe don't know what you're seeing. You're not quite sure how to document it, not sure how to have that conversation with your pet parents. But hopefully after today, you'll have a good idea of how to do that. A couple of quick housekeeping notes. If you are logged into YouTube, you can participate in any questions, chats, anything that's going on. So if you have a question, go ahead and pop it in the comment section. It'll pop up on the bottom right part of the screen. And we can see those questions as they go. I'll try to answer those in the order they're received and as they apply to what we're talking about. But please go ahead and ask questions. I'm much better with answering questions than I am being a talking head. So I'll do my best to keep this moving. I know for folks on the East Coast, it's dinner time or just after. So we'll keep this moving. We'll have about 45 minutes or so of the presentation itself, and then we'll have about 15 minutes or as much as necessary at the end for some Q&A. So let's go ahead and dive in. Okay. So one thing I really want to share with you is, first of all, to say thank you for being here. I know your time is valuable, and I know this is a topic that's not very common. It's kind of, for some folks, it's kind of out there. For me, it's my life. So I don't always, I don't always see how people can't pay attention to it or don't notice it. But part of the reason why it's important that pet services folks know and understand more about mobility challenged animals is that one of the biggest questions that I'm asked by my clients is, hey, do you know any groomer that will take my dog because my dog has a back problem, or they're in a cart, or maybe they have a knee brace. PetSmart won't trim my dog anymore, or whoever it happens to be. It's too much of a liability. Or I need to go out of town. Is there a kennel or a boarding facility you know of that will take them? Right now, there isn't. So thank you very much for being here and listening to and learning about mobility challenged animals. Trainers, groomers, our pet retail friends, your daycare and boarding folks, you guys are so perfectly positioned to notice subtle changes. Especially the trainers and the daycare folks. You are going to see these dogs moving and transitioning and doing their activities of daily living, their ADLs. You're going to see those happening over time. Maybe you're taking care of the dog for a week or more, or maybe it's just overnight, but you have a chance to see them in a pretty relaxed environment when they're with you. So you have really an opportunity to see that. Our groomers and pet retailers, maybe you're seeing these dogs once every month, once every 5 weeks. That's a whole heck of a lot more than the veterinarian is seeing them. And that's an opportunity for you to recognize change over that time. So you're really, really well positioned to be able to do this. So what I want to help you do is be that early warning system for your clients and for these dogs, and really contribute to their overall health and care. So why does this matter from a business standpoint? What are you getting out of it? Well, first of all, you're differentiating yourself between a company or a group that just provides a service. They just trim the dog. You're the one that is really emphasizing the commitment to the individual dog and to your client, and really positioning yourself as a true pet professional. You're not in it just to do the trim, to do the train, have them in your house overnight or in your boarding facility overnight. You're there to take care of the individual pet, and really recognizing and sharing what you're seeing is all part of that. It's a level, it's a step up. It's a greater level of professionalism in the pet services industry. So what do you look for? So what I hope to give you tonight is a framework. So opportunities that you can recognize changes in the dog. So this mobility snapshot that I'm going to go through, this I have spelled this out in my first book called Sit, Stand, Go, which is available on Amazon. You are able to, you can read more about why certain things are in here, but what I've done is I've taken really the most common ones and laid them out for you, and how you might see them in the businesses that you're working on, and how you're working with your dog. Now, if you think, how am I supposed to recognize, changes in this dog? Well, you have plenty of opportunities. I think the biggest piece that you're going to see is really, every dog has to unload out of a vehicle to get to you, for the most part, unless you're in a city that has public transportation like subways. They have to walk into your facility 9 times out of 10. They're in the facility, you're interacting with them. They have to leave the facility. They have to load into that vehicle again. You're going to have conversations with the owners, with the pet parents. You're going to hear their observations. You're going to have the chance to ask them questions. So you have all of these opportunities. So one thing you're going to get at the end of this seminar is you're going to have an opportunity to download an industry-specific mobility chart. It's going to look something like these guys. So different observation opportunities. There will be information on how to document and how to have a conversation with the pet parents about what you're seeing. But there's going to be one of these for each of the 4 areas that we're covering. So those are the trainers, the pet retailer folks, the groomers, and the daycare and boarding. So you're going to get an opportunity to have one of those. So if you want to just sit back and listen and ask some questions, a lot of the details will be in those forms that you'll have an opportunity to download at the end. So one thing before we go, one more thing before we get into this, is I want to be very clear. You are not diagnosing, right? You are not looking at, oh, well, that dog is limping. That looks a lot like a CCL tear. Or I saw another dog moving like that, and it was a CCL tear. That's not where we're going with this. It's important to understand your role. Your role is to recognize and share the information. It is not to say why. It is not to say what you think something is. That is not our purpose here. Your purpose is to use your proximity to the dog and the amount that you see them and how you see them you want to use those superpowers for good. And good is providing information that the pet parent can take to their veterinarian for evaluation and further diagnosis. Okay, so I want to be really, really clear on that. Okay, so let's get going. We're going to start with some of the most basic. So we're going to look at standing and stationary opportunities when you see the dog. So every dog's going to tell a story through their posture, how they stand. If you think about people in your life, you can tell when their back hurts. You can tell when a hip hurts. You can help when a knee hurts. You can see how they're standing. Same thing's true about a dog. Usually you'll see this in weight distribution. So when we're looking at, in fact, let me pop up a video here of Helen. This is my 15-year-old boxer Rottie mix. And you can see that she really wants to lean forward on those front legs. So I can see that is definitely not her favorite thing. You can see she's kind of pitched forward. She's got bigger muscle mass in the front than she does the back end. So she's a girl that I would talk to, if she weren't mine, I would talk to her mom or dad and say, hey, has Helen been leaning forward a lot at home? When she's been with us, she doesn't seem to want to lean back on her back legs at all. Have you noticed that? And then they can choose what to do with that particular information. Sometimes they'll stand with one paw a little further forward or a little further back. They may stand with their back in a C shape instead of straight back. They'll kind of stand in a C as a way to sort of compensate or offload for some of that. Groomers, you are in a good position to check out this next thing, and that's nail wear. So if you look at number 3 and 4, so a dog's paw is labeled in the same way that ours is. So 1 is the thumb, 2 from the inside, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so these 2 middle toes here, if you look at them, especially 3 and 4, they're at an angle. If you see grinding at an angle on limbs, either front or back, these happen to be back limbs, that's definitely something that you want to document and talk to the pet parents about. You can also look for any sort of scars, scraping, hair loss on the top of the knuckles. That can also indicate something called knuckling, which means that they're not getting their leg all the way through. That definitely should be something that they take to their veterinarian to learn a little bit more about and why that's happening. But yeah, groomers are definitely there. Also, for my groomer friends, one of the biggest causes of discomfort or weight distribution is long nails. So this is a good opportunity for you to say, hey, you know, we need to get you in here every 2 weeks so we can grind those nails down. It's causing your dog to lean backward or forward to get off of those. It's really hard on the digits, and literally you can watch a dog walk so much better when they've had their nails trimmed. They can stand over their paws. They can stand directly on top of their pads and not have their toenails punched up or their nails. It kind of feels like walking in shoes that are a size too small. But when you get those nails trimmed, wow, they move and feel a whole lot better. Now, if you see any of those things, it's a great idea. This is a great opportunity to take a quick photograph, either text it over to mom and dad or show it to them when they come up to pick up the dog, and you can see more about what's going on, and they can take that information to their vet. Now, again, if you have any questions, comments, feel free to pop those into the comment section. I'd be happy to answer those as we go. So now that we've kind of looked at the dog in a standing or a stationary position, let's look at them in motion. Now, this is going to be a good one for our daycare folks and our trainer folks to really be able to see them, move and how they move. And just to answer Taz's question really quickly, yeah, the toenail thing can be really painful. It does cause, not only is it painful on the nails, it's painful on the digits, and it is also painful in that whole compensatory change or chain and patterning. Long toenails can literally hurt their hips and can hurt their backs. So it's a great opportunity for you to, for my groomers to make a difference in how a dog moves and how they feel. Okay, so motion reveals what standing can hide. So you can look at a dog and maybe they're just a little bit of compensation, but then you get them in motion and you really see what that chain looks like. Let's take when we're thinking about, say, front limb, let's take a look at what a head bob would look like.
Come on,
so, oh, sorry, we got a little talking on here. There we go. So you can see the Cutie Pie here has some trouble with his front left, and to be able to move, he lifts up his neck and his head to swing that arm through. He's trying to get that leg through. So that's a very obvious version of that. A more subtle version of a head bob and a front lip looks like this. Just really subtle, just a little bit. You see a dog doing that, that tells you that there's something uncomfortable up front. Usually when the head and neck move up and down, they tend to do this. They're trying to use their shoulders and their upper body to swing the leg through because they can't do that for whatever reason with the front limb itself. So it's a good idea to grab some video of that and show it to the pet parent, even be able to pass it on. Because remember, one of the things that veterinarians really struggle with, both your specialty and your primary care, is their flooring is usually really, really slick. And they don't have long hallways to be able to watch a dog move. So if you can provide some video of that, and we do a lot of that here. We have a room that's about 35 feet long that we can get some really good video on that. So we do our best to do that and be able to provide it to our veterinary partners. This is a great way for you to be a partner as well. Taz, you're absolutely right. It is really easy to miss, but once you start, it's important that you listen to that little voice in the back of your head that says, oh, hey, that doesn't seem right. I don't know what's wrong, but that doesn't seem right. And by taking a video and getting it to someone who can make that call is really, really important. So go ahead and get, everybody's got a camera in their pocket now. Get your phone out, take a quick video and share that. Now I'm going to show you another one that, this is really one that trainers are going to be able to see and your daycare folk. But primarily your trainers or the pet retail folks are going to be able to see this too. This is what's called crabbing. So crabbing, if you've ever been in an airplane when there's a lot of turbulence, or the pilot tells you that there are crosswinds when they're trying to land, instead of coming in straight like this, the plane will actually come in like this. It'll move at an angle, almost sideways. So if you watch this dog move, you'll really see it on the back end. Yeah, you can see how he's not quite square to me. And then when he turns around after I get a kiss, always get a kiss, and you'll see it. See how his shoulders are kind of leaning to the right?
Good.
And his back end is not. That's a classic crab. That's another really good one to get video of and share that with your pet parents, because that one's pretty subtle. And if you don't capture it when they're doing it and they're being, especially if they're with their owner during a training class or something, maybe they're doing a heel, that's a great opportunity to see that, or a recall exercise. That's a time you're going to recognize that. So just keep your eyes open for that one. You're also looking for short, cautious steps, maybe not being as flowing in stride as you think they should be. Another classic one is stiffness that warms up the longer you work. So if you just get started for the day and the dog really doesn't feel like doing a sit or a down, and we're going to talk about that in a second here, or maybe it's just a little crotchety of trying to get things moving along and just can't do that for the first 5 or 6 minutes. But then after they get warmed up, they do a lot better. Boarding and daycare, you're going to see this after rest periods. If they've been resting, lying down for a while, they get up and they just have to kind of work the kinks out a little bit. That's one to keep an eye on and document that as well. Again, as much video as you can take. Really, if you think something doesn't look right, get the video in the situation where you are, and get it into the hands that someone that can help you figure that out. It's usually a couple of parts. Maybe it's solely the veterinarian. Maybe it's a mobility specialist. I do a lot of video review. It's a team. It's a veterinary healthcare team. So it's good to get everyone involved in. And I'll tell you, we need information from wherever we can get it, Okay, so let's move on to a different section, and that's transitions. So when I talk about transitions, I'm talking about going from a stand to a sit to a down, maybe a sit to a down to a stand. So anything that causes them to move from one position to another. It could be roll over. It could be switch sides when they're sitting on their hip or laying in their hip, and they need to turn around and look at something else. How do they do that? This one is a big one for trainers, for our pet retail folks. Groomers, if you're asking them to sit on the table, maybe for belly work, face work, how are they able to get there? Now we've all seen a good sit from a dog, and it looks, they kind of go down, they control it. It looks nice. So this is my girl Helen. This is about 7 years ago. The one you just saw was last year. She's now 15. So this is a very classic Sphinx down. Nice and beautiful. And then watch that hydraulic lift just coming right up. She's pushing right through. It's in full control. Down she goes. And then uses all limbs to push back up. Okay, she did a great job with that. What you might see on some other dogs is going to be this one. Oh, that was a gravity sit. So you can see how Blueberry here is really rocked. She's literally sitting directly on her anus. Not controlling that gravity helped her get down. And we've got the one hip lean as well. It's always good to keep an eye on which hip they're sitting on as well. So that sit can be really, really telling on how they're feeling, because as a dog has to change positions, you really get the opportunity to see how much pain is in the picture. Once they get in the spot, they want to stay there. You may not see a lot of pain indicators, but once they have to change that position, you're really going to get a better look at it. The other big one with transitions is really related to, does the dog use their front legs to pull themselves up instead of propelling and pushing from the back end? That can show some pain, and is also a good one. Maybe you start a conversation with mom or dad when they're picking the dog up. Hey, we noticed that she was having some trouble getting up off the floor, or looked a little stiff. Has that been happening at home as well? Open that conversation. Get a little bit more information, and tell them, what they can do and how they can address that. Hey, maybe that's an opportunity. If you're going to go see your vet soon, that'd be something that I would talk to them about. Again, you're not diagnosing, you're not telling them what it is. You're just highlighting something that you're seeing while the dog is in your care. Okay. The other thing we want to look at is the down. So when they go into that down, do they automatically rock to one side, or do they do that nice Sphinx down that Helen was showing here? Once we get her into this down here, this is a classic Sphinx down. All four legs are underneath. Does the dog you're working with rock to one side? And if they do, is it always the same side? Those little details can be hugely, hugely helpful when you're talking with folks, and how they can share the information that you've picked up and that you have recorded. You're going to get to see, as pet services professionals, you're going to get to see multiple transitions a day, or an interaction that you have with them, especially in daycare and boarding. You're going to see that a lot. Your groomers, how they do that on the table, where if you think about, it seems like it's pretty easy. The table's plenty big enough. There's a lot of spatial pressure from that table. They know that table is not very wide. And as a dog gets older or gets less able, that creates more anxiety. That creates more challenge for them. So little things like that you may notice, that is really, really important for them for that pet parent to know. So let's switch it up here a little bit and let's talk about the touch assessment. Okay, so what does that look like? What am I talking about? Well, we all touch the dogs that come in to see us. Groomers, you have to do bathing, you have to run your hands through, you want to see where the hair is, how you're going to shape the cut. Pet services, pet retail folks, you come up. Often you want to pet the dog, you want to see them. What are you feeling for? This is really one of those situations where your hands can find what the eyes miss or what a fluffy coat can hide. There's a reason why when we do confirmation judging, the judges put their hands on the dog. They don't just depend on what they see. So what are you feeling for? When I put my hands on a dog, I started out as a canine massage therapist, so which I didn't know at the time, but it was a great way for me to learn what a dog should feel like and what they do feel like. I'm always feeling for hot patches. Heat can be indicative of a lot of things, and it can be telling where you feel that heat. So recording where you're feeling heat, is it over the shoulders? Is it just behind the scapula or the shoulder blades? Is it in the hips? Is it in the stifles or the knees? Is it in the wrists, the carpus? Where is it? Asymmetry and muscle mass. This is something that that you're likely gonna see a lot, and it is a very strong tell that there is an issue going on. I see a lot of dogs with CCL tears, which is like an ACL in a human, and the muscle mass difference in the quad and the hamstring groups is marked. Now, I'm not saying that when you see asymmetry in quads or hams, you're going to say, oh, your dog has a CCL tear. That's not the idea. The idea is that dogs are great fakers. They are great hiders. They do not want to, they don't want to slow down. They've got playing to do. They've got life to live. But if you put your hands on the dog and you feel something, they should feel the same on both sides. It should be even. They should be symmetrical. So running your hands along the shoulders, along the spine, the quads, the front of the back legs, the back of the back legs. You want to feel that. If you feel something different, write it down. Again, listen to that voice in your head that says, oh, hey, that's weird. Even how the skin reacts underneath your hands. Is there a lot of twitching? If you put a little pressure on it, do you get looks from the dog? How are they reacting to your touch? Things like that. Changes in texture of the coat is also a big one. That can indicate a lot of things going on, and especially groomers, really, really important that you share anything that seems out of the ordinary, primarily because the health of the coat can be a big indicator that there is something going on. If that coat is dry, it's oily, it's patchy, it's thinning out, really, really important for you to share that with your clients. You may also have dogs that have a little spot on the back of their tails, just below the base, and that's what I call old man tail. And that is usually from them sitting on the tail and breaking the coat, because they'll sit down on it, then they'll spin on it, twist, or when they go to transition, there'll be some hair breaking there as well. That's another indicator that maybe they're not sitting as well as they could be. So when you're doing this gentle, light approach, you want to have just light pressure, just running your hands along the dog's back and along their legs, and you want to make sure you're giving them a choice. Okay, don't restrain them, because the information that they give you can be important here. How they're reacting to your touch. Do they look back over you? Do they look back once you get to a spot? Paying attention to those things and recording or marking those down can be important as well. You likely have a software that you're working with, or maybe it's just a pen and paper and you're just doing it in a binder. That's okay too. It's good to have some notes between sessions so you know what has changed. Let's go down and talk a little bit more about reading their communication. So if go grab this question real fast. If let's pop this up here. So if the mobility shifts are identified as arthritis, are there any specific questions you should ask the general vet after presenting them with the video? So yes, that is a good question. What I would like to know from the client or from the veterinarian directly, if you're going to be doing movement activities, so if you are a trainer or daycare boarding, should you have limits on the amount of time that they're in play group or not? Do they need additional rest times? If you are a groomer, I would want to know some estimates on the amount of time you think that the dog should stand, or if there are places that you should be careful or cautious of while you're grooming. Grooming organizations normally have some CEUs on grooming senior dogs, and a lot of those rules can apply across the board. One thing to remember is that osteoarthritis is now 25% of dogs who are between the ages of 2 and 5 now have OA. So it's no longer an old dog disease. So that's a good it's a good thing to remember. But I wouldn't want to know about boundaries if I'm working with a dog that I know has osteoarthritis. Thanks for that question, Taz. Okay, let's swing back over to reading canine communication. So the dogs are going to tell us where it hurts. And as you interact with the dog, whether you are in a pet retail environment, maybe you're doing, maybe you're a groomer, maybe you're in daycare, and it's a slow time, or the dog has walked up to you. What do they offer you? Are they offering you their butt? Are they offering you a particular side? Are they offering you their back? I jokingly tell my clients it's usually when you're going to the bathroom, because I don't think I've gone to the bathroom by myself in 15 years now, actually more than that, probably 25 years. But they will come up and offer you something. Sometimes it's their head and neck. Sometimes it's their side. Sometimes it's a hip or their back. What are they offering? That can be a big indicator that something is uncomfortable. And if they do things like you come up and you start to touch their back or hip, they automatically sit down. So those sort of avoidance behaviors, which is what I would qualify that as, that's like shouting, really don't want you to do that. Please don't touch my hips. Or maybe if you have a dog on the grooming table and you get to a particular spot and their breathing changes, they hold their breath and they get really still. That's a good point to think about where you are, and what may be a problem. Now I know, especially with the groomers, you all have dogs that don't love to be groomed, so they don't like the experience. They need to be muzzled. They are a handful. You need to think about, when we're talking about mobility challenges, we're really talking about trends. We're talking about clusters of activities, right? Clusters of signals that they're giving you that perhaps there's some pain involved or they need something. You're looking for those. And you never know, some of the dogs that really suddenly don't want to be groomed, maybe there's pain involved there, and you can help the pet parents figure that out and give some direction for a vet visit. Maybe you've got some video or some photographs. Sudden changes are a big deal, and you should definitely pay attention to that. So Taz had a question about how can we tell they're holding their breath. So they literally just, the rib cage stops moving. and you can feel it. When you're petting a dog, or you're moving your hands across the dog, when I get to a spot that is a little questionable, the dog has been just kind of standing there, and all of a sudden they go and they freeze. That's when I know I'm close to something that is uncomfortable. The rib cage stops moving, they stop expanding, and there's a subtle hardening in their body. Anyone who's ever almost been bitten or has been bitten, there's usually that split second of nothing before there's a correction from the dog, right? So that it's that subtle, like, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? It's like us stopping to cock an ear to listen to something. I thought I heard something. Okay, I didn't. But you stop, right? And that includes stopping the breathing. So thanks for that question, Taz. So, most dogs, unless they are in significant pain, there's not going to be vocalization involved here. They're not going to whimper. They're not going to cry out. They're not going to yelp. That kind of vocalization is really saved for acute injuries, acute situations. So that could be, could be a yelp on a CCL tear, can be a scream or a yelp if they've ruptured a disc or pulled out a toenail. Those are when you're going to get the yelps. You're not going to get them in chronic pain situations, which is really what we're seeing with these subtle changes that may have been there for a while, but no one has recognized them. And that's where you come in as a pet professional who is spending a lot of time with these dogs. Okay, we're motoring right along here. If anyone has questions, please, like I said, pop in there like Taz has been doing. So let's talk a little bit about documentation and communication and how you're going to do that with your clients. So I think it's helpful to have some sort of a note system. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. It literally can be, Buddy stood normally for the groom today. Great. Or Buddy tucked his right rear and he was really favoring his left front today. It's that easy. It doesn't have to be super involved. It doesn't have to be one more step that you have to do, like you're adding something on. You're just learning to watch, learning to interpret, and you're learning to document the things that you're seeing. That's it. Photos and videos are great. They save you a lot of time. You're looking for unusual postures or gaits, maybe wear patterns like we talked about on those nails, maybe in the coat. Dogs that constantly sit on one side, you're going to see their coat is a little broken on that side often, or it's a little thinner. You're going to see some telltale signs. And usually, frankly, owners miss them because they see the dog every day. They're not going to notice the small changes. You really, like I said, the pet services pros are so in the perfect position to be able to do this. So the other piece of this is, how do you communicate it? How do you communicate this with the owners? So let me read you just a quick script. So I've noticed Half Moon over the past week, he's been different from what I typically see with him. Have you noticed any changes at home? Probably worth mentioning to Dr. Forer at your next visit. Or maybe it's, key phrases like, this is different from what I normally see, or I wanted to share this observation with you. Your veterinarian will have better insight on X, Y, Z. This is the way that you open up those conversations. It's not, hey, did you notice? It's not like that. So the goal here is not to sound like you know everything. You saw it. I saw it. You, owner, you didn't notice it, so you missed it. No, the point here is, this is what I saw. Have you seen something like that at home? Your message should be collaborative. It should be an open dialogue. It should give them an opportunity to help put two and two together. So you may say, hey, I noticed that Joey was limping a little bit today. And have you noticed anything like that at home? Well, you know what? He did jump off the couch the other day. I told him not to do it, but he did it anyway. Oh, that would make sense. So I noticed it on his front left leg. Yeah, I think I noticed that too. Well, you should probably, why don't you get an appointment with Dr. So-and-so just to make sure everything's okay, right? So open up that conversation that you've seen something, bring it back up to top of mind for your pet parents and help them make the right decision for their dog and their dog's health. This is also a great opportunity to build veterinary relationships as well. I can tell you that here doing massages on a senior patient, I noted that the dog had swollen lymph nodes, like they were like the size of walnuts. And this was a Cavalier King Charles. I said, this is something that you should have checked out because it's on both sides. They went and checked it out. Turned out the dog had lymphoma. So those kind of like, I noticed it, pet parent didn't notice it, she felt it, and she's like, oh my God, how did I miss that? Like, it's not about you missing it. It's about the fact that we found it and now you can do something about it. Okay, you're giving the power of knowledge and observation, and that is huge. That is huge for your pet parents. It's also great for, like I said, for the veterinary referrals, because you sharing your video and your photos and what you've seen over time helps them track the trend. So if we don't know how long there's been heat over the left shoulder blade, or the hair has been thinning, or any other scraping of the toenails, it really helps provide that information for them to narrow down the diagnosis and make it much easier when they have all of the information. And you're helping do that. You're helping the pet parents be able to do that. So in closing, I want to make sure that you can take advantage of and you understand your professional edge. Okay, you're not just watching dogs. You're not just petting dogs that come into your store. You're not just grooming dogs. You're paying attention and you're documenting changes over time. And that matters. It really, really does. I can't emphasize that enough. The value that you provide and this early detection saves dogs from discomfort. It saves owners money. That professional documentation that you put into place, that supports better veterinary care, better health for the dog, and it builds trust with your clients and with your local vets. And we all know that it's easier to keep and nurture a long-term relationship than it is to spend a lot of money in marketing to try to get new clients. The clients you have are worth significantly more than the ones you think you can get. So paying attention and supporting the clients you have is huge. And you know what those clients do? They refer you to their friends and their family and their veterinarians. So getting a warm lead like that through the door is huge. They're going to expect that that level of care that you have committed to providing. So couple of things that you can do for your business. So implement a daily mobility observation routine. So watch, even if it's one thing, watch them walk in from the parking lot or watch them get out of the car. That can be really important. You can get a ton of information from that. Create just a simple documenting system. If you have software, you probably have a notes section. Just pop it in there. If you do everything pen and paper, write it down on the dog's card. Super easy. Develop and work on those communication scripts with your owners. Hey, I noticed that XYZ. Have you seen something like that at home? Remember, you're looking for open conversation on that. And then establishing good relationship with your veterinarians, because guess what? They can become great referral sources as well. In an industry where anyone can kennel a dog, anyone can, can throw out a shingle and say, hey, I'm gonna groom dogs for a living, or open up, a small pet store, or a pet supplies store. You can take it up a level by recognizing something's changed, really being committed to serving your clients, and their pets, and protecting their well-being, and being part of the solution. So definitely thank you for listening, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have right now. And I also have, so let me pop up my email address there. So if something comes to you, which usually it does for me, it happens after the fact, when I get done watching a film, or I had a question and didn't get to answer it, or I didn't think of it until we were done, I'm going to pop up my email address there, and I would be available for you to shoot those questions over at a later time if you'd like. And I'll also point out again that you'll all be receiving these training sheets, the mobility training reference sheets, that you can share with your staff. These are, well, I wrote them, so I think they're good. They're good, quick references on what you're seeing, how to start a quick conversation, what maybe to include in your documentary, in your documenting, and your notes sections for your documentation setup. All right. Does anybody have any questions that they'd like an answer to? Okay. Well, one thing I will say is I'm committed to supporting the pet services industry, because my folks need it. We need folks to step up and say, hey, yeah, absolutely, I'll groom a dog that has a CCL tear, or I will spend the time to figure out how to do this, so that I can continue to provide the great service that I do, and keep the great relationship that I built with you. We need boarding kennels, we need pet sitters, we need pet retail stores with knowledgeable folks that understand what our mobility challenge dogs are going through, and what kind of products that they need, and offering products like that that actually work. We don't have a lot. As a mobility challenge mom to 3 dogs, well, to 4 with Helen, I've got 2 dogs in carts, and 1 dog who wasn't a cart that came to us. So we go through a lot of boots. We go through a lot of belly bands and a lot of diapers. 3 of my dogs are urinary fecal incontinent. So imagine me trying to find, if it weren't for my own staff, trying to find someone to care for my special needs dogs is almost impossible. So I am on a mission to introduce the mobility challenge market to anyone in pet services that I can get to listen to my story. Taz has asked the question about whether this lesson was recorded. Yes, it was. It will be continue to be on YouTube. You'll look under the live tab, and that's where you'll find it. So that will be there and available. Can I ask how many, or just tell me what's your pet services role? Are you a retailer? Are you a groomer, trainer? You could just pop that in the chat. That would be great. That would be great to know. And then I think we talked a little bit about arthritis, and I think arthritis is going to be the big one. It is. I mean, it is the big one now, but it is definitely something that you're going to see a lot of. And if you only have time to learn about one thing, learning about OA will take you a long way. Osteoarthritis is it's challenging, it's expensive, it's painful for both the owners and for the dog. Learning about arthritis can be really can be rewarding, and it can be huge, have a huge impact on your business. And I think you'll look at parts of your business differently, specifically your floors. Flooring is a big deal for dogs with OA. Slippery floors, cement floors, tile floors, they're so easy to clean, but guess what? They are awful to walk on for a dog with osteoarthritis. I can't tell you how many people, when they walk into my facility, which has a recycled rubber flooring throughout, that cost me an arm and a leg at the beginning. I wasn't sure if I should have done it. They can't get over how well their dog can walk on that and how well they can move. And it's such a significant change of, it affects their quality of life so greatly. Their confidence level goes through the roof. The pain level goes down because they're not constantly scared they're going to slip or they're going to do a Bambi, where they go flat out onto the ground. So look at your facilities and look at what surfaces you're asking the dogs to walk on, and see if there's a subtle change or an easy change that you can make for your senior dogs and your mobility challenged dogs. And I think you'll notice a big difference, and you will definitely notice your pet parents saying something, because they don't want to see their dog fall. They don't want to see them slip. They don't want to see them hurt. So if you recognize, even if it's something as simple as rolling out a yoga mat in front of them so they don't have to walk across the tile floor to get onto the table, even something as simple as that can make a huge difference to the dog and to their pet parent. So, well, I'll let you all get going. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions, go ahead and shoot me a quick email. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. All right, everybody, have a good night, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.